Hello, my name is Rebecca O'Donnell. I'm an Irish lawyer working in Child Circle, a Brussels-based NGO which focuses on child protection and child rights. And the Council of Baltic Sea States asked Child Circle to develop a second addendum to the CBSS guidelines on promoting the human rights and the best interests of the child in transnational child protection cases. Now, the guidelines were originally published in 2015, informed by an EU-funded project of CBSS called Protect Children on the Move. And the guidelines really focused on the situation of children in migration who might be at risk of abuse, exploitation, or trafficking. At the end of 2016, a first addendum to the guidelines was published in light of the many changes that had occurred over 2016, in particular a significant increase in asylum applications that had been made. And now I'm going to introduce the second addendum. Once more, a lot has happened since 2016 in the field of children in migration. So the second addendum aims to give an insight into these changes. In particular, as you'll see, it highlights recent trends and emerging issues from significant events. In a second section, it looks at recent developments in international and European law and policy. And in a final section, it looks at practical resources, studies, and tools which can support responses to children on the move. So the first section of the second addendum considers many of the momentous events that have happened since 2016 that have shaped responses to children in migration. COVID-19 had a significant effect on the situation of children in migration, not least because of difficulties in reuniting family across borders. Brexit also generated an external border at the western side of Europe, a new external border between France and Great Britain and within the island of Ireland. The situation in Afghanistan has deteriorated considerably, propelling more refugees to Afghanistan and also reducing any prospects of return for some children in migration. The situation at the Belarus borders with the EU also proved significant as a development, leaving children with their families or unaccompanied, often in detention at the border. We also have, of course, since the war in Ukraine, the biggest refugee crisis in Europe since World War II. During all of this time, we've also experienced developments in relation to relocating children and other individuals from one EU country to another, whilst also seeing pushbacks at the EU borders. Equally significant have been developments at law and policy level, both at the European Union level, but also within the Council of Europe and the United Nations, amongst others. At EU level, we see ongoing and very protracted negotiations of the Common European Asylum System instruments. We've seen a new EU anti-trafficking strategy, and of course the first triggering of the Temporary Protection Directive to respond to the war in Ukraine. The Council of Europe has also published a new action plan on refugees and migrants in vulnerable situations, amongst other documents and instruments. And the UN has also very importantly published new general comments on children in international migration. And so in the last section of the second addendum, you'll also find a range of different types of resources that can help support your work, whether that be as a policymaker or as a practitioner in the field. It includes significant cases coming out from European courts. It includes guidance or studies that have been published that can usefully serve and inform your work. So looking to the future, we see a need for new transnational guidance in light of all of these developments. And we're delighted that as part of a new EU-funded project called Promise Soteria, that we will have the opportunity to do so. And we will look to extend the guidelines to cover cases beyond children in migration. In other words, to include cases where the child protection issues for a child is of significance for more than one country. That might occur in the instance of a parental abduction from one country to the other, or it may also arise in a case of online child sexual abuse, which may be being investigated in more than one jurisdiction. So please watch this space, and we'll continue to update you and to work with you on this new child protection guidance.